you ever heard of Alice Bailey? She was the person who popularised the term the New Age. Together with her husband, who was a 32nd degree Freemason, they formed the Lucis Trust and the Lucifer Publishing Company in 1922 to publish her books. Her books were like a manifesto for a unified global religion. She was also a big supporter of the push towards a global government. This is from her book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy. The old rituals must be revived and brought up to date in the esoteric sense of the word, and the religious students of the world must be graduated into a higher school, given the occult interpretations, and taught that, after all, the truth has been present all the time, but hidden and misinterpreted. It is surely easier to swing the masses into step and give them the newer light of truth if that light is poured onto familiar ground. And in her book, Problems of Humanity, from the chapters called The Problem of the Churches, she says, "The day is dawning where all religions will be regarded as emanating from the one great spiritual source. All will be seen as providing the one root out of which the universal world religion will inevitably emerge." Now, Alice Bailey was around in the early 1900s, and although she called it the New Age, the idea of merging our religions into a universal world religion is actually a very old one. It's called syncretism, the blending, merging, or reconciliation of different cultures, religions, philosophies, or schools of thought into a new, unified system. When you hear blending, merging different cultures, religions, philosophies into a unified system, doesn't that remind you of what is being forced on us in modern Britain? Alice Bailey said in her books that she was channeling information from the spiritual realm via telepathy from a master of wisdom. Personally, I think that was a lie, just to sell more books and hook people in because it sounded so magical. I think instead her ideas were coming straight from the higher echelons of Freemasonry via her husband. I think her books were used as a platform by Freemasonry to sell an old idea to a new audience, because Masons had already been nudging religions towards the ancient doctrines for many centuries before, with, among others, Sir Christopher Wren and Nicholas Hawksmoor.
St. Paul's Cathedral. Of course I had to pick a day when they're having some kind of fun run or something. There's people screaming. Sounds like a riot. St. Paul's Cathedral was built to be one of the country's most important churches of England. But St. Paul's Cathedral was not really built for the likes of you or me. It was built for high society, royalty, and the high orders of men in the City of London. And also, St. Paul's doesn't really conform to what we think of as orthodoxy in the Church of England. Firstly, it has a dome, which is more of a Catholic thing, really. It's a lot like St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, which begs the question, if you worship here underneath an enormous and potent Catholic symbol, aren't you actually worshipping the Catholic Church? So imagine St. Paul's Cathedral had an Islamic dome, and when you went inside, all over the floor were Islamic patterns. The people who worshipped there, would they not feel like they were worshipping Islam? Well, here's the thing. St. Paul's Cathedral, as far as I'm concerned, is not a Christian church. This is a Freemasonic temple built by posh Freemasons for posh Freemasons. One's in the royal family, in the military, in politics, and of course the livery companies of the City of London. And the orthodoxy that they practice is not Christian orthodoxy, but a mystery religion from the ancient world. It does have some really big clues on the outside, which we'll get to in a minute, but on the inside it's like totally covered in checkerboard pattern. So let's see if we can get some video of it. It is free entry on a Sunday because it's open as a church. I may have to pretend to pray in 4K. They're still screaming apparently and blowing whistles. It shouldn't be much of a surprise that it's so Masonic inside that building, because by their own records, Sir Christopher Wren, the architect, was the Grand Master of English Freemasonry in 1685 whilst the building was being constructed. It's also not surprising that the Grand Lodge of English Freemasons first met here in 1717, the precise date being St. John the Baptist's Day, the 24th of June 1717, in the Goose and Gridiron Ale House in St. Paul's Churchyard, which is more or less where we're standing now. One of the common features that make them stand out from like an orthodox English church are the parts that jut out at a 45-degree angle. It represents what's called squaring the circle. To them, the square represents the base man, and the circle represents the infinite divine consciousness, which isn't talking about Christian consciousness or Jewish or Islamic or Hindu or Buddhist or any of those. Rather, it's the unification of all of those, a unified religious consciousness. The mixture of the square and the circle is the octagon, which is a potent symbol to Freemasons. It represents man moulded by his understanding of the infinite. An octagon is like a square, but with the addition of 45-degree angles. St. Mary Walnut, completed in 1727. Now, is there anything about this building that suggests it's a Christian church? If somebody told me this was a satanic temple, I really would believe them. The main motif seems to be the setting sun, which is a symbol of death, and it's kind of striped, a bit like a symbol of danger in the natural world. One of the persistent motifs actually is the shell. The shell normally is a symbol of birth, but this is upside down, so it's a symbol of death. There's these three arches on the side, kind of cutouts into the building. And when you're down here at street level, they really are quite aggressive looking, quite ominous. It's basically an all-seeing eye when you're down here on street level. And these columns, the bases you can see here, are purposefully stuck out at 45-degree angles. There again is the upside down shell. Has a crypt that apparently doesn't exist anymore, which I never believe when they say that sort of thing. This is suggestive of an underground level. Massive keystones, no arches. So that again is just a clue that the keystone is here not functionally, but to suggest something. Around the back seems very, very plain. Oh, there's a spooky door there, look at that. Oh, a little mouse. I saw the tiniest little mouse there. Yeah, look at that weird little door. Spooky. Look at that tiny little ball of fur. That mouse is so small. I can't quite describe to you how absolutely miniature that little guy is. It's their main symbol by the looks of it, which I presume is an M and a W. Although they seem to have made a conscious effort to make it as spooky as possible. There are some symbols inside which I'm quite convinced are not Christian symbols at all, but rather pagan sun symbols. And the main body of the church, the nave, is a perfect cube. This is St. Luke's Church in Old Street, which seems a lot like a normal church. That is, until you look up. And instead of a spire, you'll see there's an enormous Egyptian obelisk. Egyptian obelisks are monuments to the sun god Ra, and therefore an ancient form of paganism, not a symbol of Christianity. I would argue that the design of the church is as important as the design of the altar inside. If you went into a church and instead of an effigy of Christ, you saw an effigy of Baphomet in a upside down pentagram dripping in blood with black curtains, you'd be forgiven for thinking that if you worship there, you would in fact be worshipping Satan and not God. Personally, I would try to find churches that didn't have satanic symbols on the altar, or massive pagan Egyptian sun god obelisks on the roof, or even massive masonic pyramids in the courtyard dedicated to King Solomon, like St. Anne's in Limehouse. There's a cat there. What a weird place for a cat to be. Are you a friendly cat? You're not going to scratch my eyes out, are you? No? Are you friendly? Oh, you are friendly. Wow. Very friendly cat. Oh, no, he wants to actually attack me now, okay? You're that friendly. Oh, there's no claws. He wants to play and possibly scratch me until blood comes out so you can drink it, right? I know you're kind. Right, St. Anne's Limehouse is down here somewhere. Wow. That is big. It's enormous, actually. It's got a huge golden ball on the top. Oh, it's an astro ball. That's fair enough. There, can you see the diagonals? Very much a signal. It's got a blue door as well, actually. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. Wow, this staircase, which is also at 45 degrees. Yeah, this thing is a statement for sure. a setting sun is also a theme here, it seems, which is unsurprising, I suppose. It's the DLR. And somewhere around here there's an enormous pyramid. Oh, there it is. Well, will you look at that? I can only imagine this tree grew up next to it. They forgot to kill it when it was young. And it's threatening to undermine this glorious masonic pyramid. The wisdom of Solomon. And some people say, or some people point out, that it was purposefully placed above that, the royal crest, which is really nothing but a worn away, eroded symbol nowadays, a bit like the royal family in real life. Some people say that it was purposefully placed above the royal crest to signify the true ranking in society. Now, people also say that there's some kind of void underneath it. I mean, it looks just a little bit like a foxhole to me. I wonder if we could actually stick a camera in there. Oh. There is a book in there. Multiple books, actually. I'm kind of tempted to try and fish it out, but that'd be the easiest way to get HIV, wouldn't it? Somebody may have put a needle in there. I wonder if I can hook it out with something else. There doesn't seem to be a void like underneath it. It seems to be solid. Just scuffing the hell out of my tripod there. Captain Loeb, Law. Wow. It's just a library book in darkest London. This must just be a geocache. A story of the Salvation Army by John Law. Okay. Oh my god, there's like scrapbooks and all sorts of stuff in there. What's this? Oh, it's just like a sketchbook of like demonic imagery. Stay calm, somebody help. Wow. Okay. This is scary. Spooky as hell. The daytime is dying, my darling. It is sick like the soul. Fever light fades on the horizon, and the purple siren dream carriages light the dark sky. Oh my god. This is some real scary stuff, isn't it? Ooh. I think it is just literally somebody's art book. But it's obviously somebody who is indoctrinated with ideas of the occult. Interesting. Well, we'll put that back in for somebody else to find some joy in, along with Captain Loeb. I'm trying not to catch HIV while I do it. Well, that was strange. There's some kind of black lace here as well. Very odd. But what on earth is this doing here? Like, what on earth does this have to do with the Church of England? Maybe it was just that the Masonic architects were so posh and they came with so much free money that the local community just stood back and nodded and said, yeah, whatever, build whatever, please. And just stood back while a secret society infected their religion with a mind virus from the ancient world. Oh dear. Look at this guy. All wrapped up and bundled. And notice how all of the lamps around this courtyard are obelisks. Every single one. Like a little matrix of them. And that lady up there is actually hugging an Egyptian obelisk. Look at that. She loves it. She's taken it to bed. The Egyptian obelisk is such a common thing to see on memorials, you could be tricked into thinking that paying respect to the dead in England has some connection to the pagan sun god Ra. In fact, this symbol is used so commonly, it's quite plausible that the very sight of this pagan symbol might elicit some kind of emotional response, not dissimilar to Pavlov training his dogs. Just look at this as I wouldn't say wasted space, but such a grand, crazy place to be just totally empty. And slowly getting filled with weeds. This was built as a collaboration between Sir Christopher Wren and Nicholas Hawksmoor. These things are a little bit like a miniature version of St Paul's Cathedral almost. But you can see there, like, instead of a clock, it's showing the wind direction. This being a navy site and all that. But yeah, those are the parts I've come to look at. The 45-degree jutting out parts, for want of a better expression. I'm not really sure if there is a proper name for them, to be honest. Is that King Charles? Let's look at this thing. Just a hospital, you know? No real reason for it to be so spiritually engaged, I guess is the only term. The curve, when you see it like that, often when you see a curve on a building, it means the sun, but actually the curve that is not circular means the cosmos. And you can see there the triangular pediment that is struck all the way through, which basically is insinuating high spirituality, the connection between the cosmos and the ground. It's got the 3 windows there, look. You can see here either side, it's got like these double square columns here, and in between them, if you go all the way to the top, it's the octagon, a little square in the middle. And these things are not placed there by accident. It's not like, oh, I don't know what to put in this bit, oh, just a octagon, I suppose. These things are all deeply meaningful. I've actually never seen like an entrance gate that looks more like those two columns from Freemasonry in my life. It's crazy, actually. Actually, in Freemasonry, one of them is the earth and the other is the cosmos. Is that what we have here? I think they are, you know. This one seems to have lines of longitude and latitude on it, like the earth. And the other one just has sort of areas and circles and things, like marking out the constellations. Yeah. You just need eyes to see. This stuff, this injection of occult imagery into mainstream society, operates a lot like a magic trick. Imagine you went to a magic show and you lacked the understanding and knowledge to realise that when the magician made things disappear or reappear, it was just a trick. Then you may go away from the show with your brain misfiring, and you may start to think that somehow special people have the ability to manipulate reality so they can control matter and energy at a whim, like masters of universal forces. But what they've really mastered is the ability to manipulate your perceptions. The dynamic they've created is that you are weak and small, and they are grand and powerful. But if you have the understanding and the visual vocabulary to work out how the trick works, then the power stays with you. And the magician is exposed for the fraud that they are, a manipulator of people, not anybody of particular moral character, just somebody who gains personal power through sleight of hand. Thanks for watching.